Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Passport to Crime podcast, where we journey across continents and through the corridors of unforgotten time to uncover stories that demand remembrance. I'm Oakley, and today's episode is unlike any other, not because of what we know, but because of all that we didn't for so long. This is episode 14 of the Passport to Crime podcast. Echoes from the Box. This is America's oldest unsolved child mystery. Today I take you back to 1957, to a quiet woodland in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. A cardboard box lies discarded among the leaves. Inside, tragically, hauntingly, is the body of a small boy, with no name, no clothes, and no trace of a past or a future. He's remembered only as the boy in the box, and for more than 6 decades that's all he was. A tragic symbol of the unknown. But due to science persistence, that has changed the narrative. This child, once lost to silence, has a name: Joseph Augustus Zarelli. And today we honour not just a mystery, but a boy whose identity has finally broken through the fog. This episode contains distressing material related to child abuse, forensic findings, and historic trauma. Listener discretion is advised. With that being said, let's look at what the chilling discovery was. It was bitterly cold on the morning of 25th of February 1957, when a university student stumbled into a thicket near Susquehanna Road in Philadelphia's Fox Chase area. Hunting for rabbits, he came upon a large cardboard box, tattered and resting awkwardly beneath branches. What he saw next would become one of the most harrowing discoveries in American criminal history. Inside the box lay the body of a young boy, pale and bruised. He was naked, wrapped only in a faded blanket. His hair had been shoddily cut, short and uneven. His skin showed surgical scars on his ankle and groin area. There were fresh bruises, signs of malnourishment, and a haunting stillness that suggested he'd endured far more than any of us knew. The box itself had once contained a baby bassinet sold at J.C. Penney, a detail both mundane and chilling. There were no clothes, no toys, no notes, just a discarded child whose story had quite literally been thrown away. And then the investigation begins. Philadelphia police launched a massive investigation. Thousands of flyers were distributed. The boy's image was printed in newspapers nationwide. A reconstruction of his face was created and displayed at events. Officers went door to door across neighbourhoods, asking if any child was missing, if anyone recognised him. They even dressed a mannequin in similar physical features and placed it in public spaces, hoping it might jog someone's memory. But no family came forward. No school claimed he'd once sat in their classrooms, and no hospital recognised his scars. For all the efforts made, the child seemed to have slipped through every system. He had simply ceased to exist before anyone could notice he was gone. Conspiracy theorists spouted from desperation. Some claimed he was the victim of a foster home scandal. Others believed he came from a travelling carnival, unregistered and invisible to the state. A woman, decades later, alleged her abusive mother had purchased the boy before disposing of him, yet her account riddled with inconsistencies and lacked concrete proof. And now we look at years of silence and obsession. Joseph became known as America's unknown child. And while official efforts slowed, a community of amateur sleuths, cold case enthusiasts, and forensic experts continued to push for answers. One group, the Vodic Society, made up of retired profilers and detectives, adopted the case of a personal challenge. For them, Joseph wasn't just a mystery. He was a moral imperative. The unanswered questions became a rallying cry. Who was this child? Why did no one come searching for him? How could a society so loudly proclaim justice lose track of its smallest citizens? In 1998, his body was exhumed to gather DNA samples. It was a respectful, necessary step, one that sparked fresh hope, but the technology of the time could only do so much. Let's take a look at behind where the science resurrects identity in this case. It wasn't until 2022, nearly 65 years after the box was found, that investigators identified the child through advanced forensic genealogy and public ancestry databases. They traced his lineage and confirmed his identity. Joseph Augustus Zarelli, born in January 1953. He was just 4 years old when he died. His family line held clues, but also silence. His mother, still alive, declined to cooperate with authorities. Joseph had siblings, but none could or would share any meaningful details about his life or disappearance. As tragic as it is, and as tragic as it was revelatory, the announcement made headlines across the globe. Suddenly, the boy wasn't just a victim. He was Joseph. He had a name, a date of birth, and a city. And with that came a bittersweet truth. Though he was known at last, the people who could explain his death remained silent. We often think of lost children as rare tragedies, but the truth is global, pervasive, and devastating. From missing indigenous children in Canada to undocumented street children in South Asia, forgotten youths exist in nearly every nation and every part of the globe. Joseph's story, while deeply American, is universal in its heartbreak. In Britain, too, we have our shadows, cases of institutional failings, children left unseen and definitely unheard. We remember the scandal of children lost in care homes, forgotten by bureaucracies. Joseph reminds us that remembrance is not just an act of justice, it's one of moral restoration. No child should fade without memory, and no story should be left unfinished. At the Passport to Crime, we examine these silences, and we share them, not to sensationalize tragedy, but to remember what must never be lost. Joseph Augustus Zarelli lived. He was a child with a heartbeat, a beginning, and perhaps dreams that flickered briefly before being extinguished. Though we'll never know what made him laugh, what frightened him, or how he even ended up alone in these woods. We do know this: Joseph matters. He matters now, decades later, more than ever. His grave at Ivy Hill Cemetery bears his name. Visitors leave flowers, teddy bears, and praise for investigations, and investigators still monitor the case, hoping for a tip, a confession, and a resolution. But even if those things never come, Joseph's story has already done something profound. It's awakened generations to the truth that every voice, even a silenced one, deserves to be heard. Thank you for listening. Until next time, stay curious, stay compassionate, and never let silence win. Keep your passports at the ready for the unknown. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please check us out on Instagram at the Passport to Crime Podcast for updates, behind the scenes content, and to join a growing community dedicated to truth, remembrance, and global justice. Thanks for listening. Bye bye for now.